We will be with you until 6 o'clock. It's currently 4:08 Tuesday afternoon, and boy, the skies are dark. Looks like we're definitely going to get some more of the wet stuff coming down. So hope that everybody is preparing for that. Drive safely, please. Remember to turn your headlights on when you turn your wiper blades on.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's kind of one of those things that it's easy to forget. I'm guilty of it myself. It starts raining, you turn on your windshield wipers, and whoops, forgot about the headlights.
You know, I heard some people around the office complaining about the fact that it was getting dark again outside, saying they're sick of the rain. Well, first off, we're going to get rain all through the weekend, so it's here with us. But second off, again, I'll take this. Keep the temperatures low.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we don't have another heat wave come through, and we're rolling right into August, and looks like we're rolling right into August.
Yeah.
I mean, not August, October. I'm sorry. Rolling right into October, and hey, you know, we're looking pretty good right now with hurricane season starting to, starting to get through it.
Yeah, I don't mind it for the most part. It does affect business. Okay, so it does affect people's, people's income, and so it keeps people from going out and shopping and keeps people in. But if I don't have any time, I love it on a Sunday. Okay, give me a rainy Sunday afternoon, especially nowadays when we got football. Okay, so and it's it helps. To do nothing and not feel guilty about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, because if it's nice outside and you're doing nothing, then you think about all the things that you should be doing. I still don't do them. Okay, just for the record. But you feel better. But
and I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Truthfully, I don't even feel bad about it. Okay, but I think you see my point.
Yes.
All right, so big news today.
Yeah.
All right. America's dad, people that called Bill Cosby the perfect father figure and represented fatherhood for such a long time, got sentenced today 3 to 10 years. Now, this is a pretty big deal. He was denied bail, so he went straight off to prison. Where he goes to prison is a little questionable at this time.
Yeah.
Not really sure exactly where he would be going. This is in Pennsylvania, and it's not federal; it's state. In some cases, a person's age and health will affect where they go.
And he's legally blind.
He's legally blind. Yeah. That's exactly right. So when you think about him going to prison, it's not going to be like Orange is the New Black, okay, or Oz, or any of the images that you think of. When you think of prison, all right.
I can't help but think about the Mad TV sketch where instead of calling it Oz, they called it Cos.
Yes.
And they had Aries Spears playing Bill Cosby in prison.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That almost was prophetic, unfortunately.
Well, now here we are. Okay, he's going to prison, and listen, there's a lot of women that have come out saying that he sexually assaulted them. If you're not familiar with it, I don't know where you've been living under a rock somewhere, but the story is that he would drug them, have intercourse with them, dress them, and then they would wake up. He would send them home in a cab or in a car, and then they would wake up and realize somehow, in different ways rather, that they had in fact been sexually assaulted. Now he's got 8 civil lawsuits against him as well. Okay, there are 8 victims that, or alleged victims. We don't want to call them victims because he hadn't been convicted of it yet.
That's true.
Okay, but
although the national media is, though.
One of them is, okay. Andrea Constand.
Yeah.
Okay, she's the one that he was convicted on with this sentence right here, and she does have a civil lawsuit against him. So she's got that on her side in civil court. Okay, so this is one of those things. I got to tell you, most of Hollywood, when I hear about actors, actresses getting in trouble, right, and being charged, I got to tell you, I'm very rarely surprised.
Right.
This is one that really surprised me. When all these allegations came out against Bill Cosby, I got to tell you, I'd never been so surprised.
It was heartbreaking in many ways when it happened. In one instance, obviously, it was heartbreaking for the, as you would say, alleged victims and the victim under the legal sense in Andrea Constand. But also, and let's just be honest, it was more so heartbreaking in the sense that, again, everyone looked at him as America's dad, and it just felt like someone you grew up coming to love on TV, that everything that he stood for was a farce.
Yeah.
And it's terrible when you see one of your childhood heroes, or one of your favorite, those people that you looked up to growing up as someone that is that's not what, and this egregious, with multiple women, that's the accusations and all this evidence that came out against him. I mean, I could remember growing up, and it wasn't just the character he portrayed on TV, but it was the values that he espoused. And even within his shows, I used to love watching Bill Cosby stand up, and it was the values of yesteryear, and it was the values that many people aspired to put into their lives. And to see, a lot of times people will build up these stars and then bring them crashing down in this society, and a lot of people take glee in that. This is one that I feel horrible for the women that were involved, but this is one that I don't think any of us should be taking glee in this man going down, because a lot of what he stood for was unfortunately tied to him.
Yeah. Well, the difference between Bill Cosby and these other actors is that through his work, okay, as an actor and as a stand-up, it was like anybody else's dad or uncle.
Right.
Okay. You really felt like you knew him. Okay. It wasn't like De Niro or any of these other, I can give you a long list. You really don't feel like you know those people because I remember, and I still watch it. I still enjoy it sometimes. The stand-up routine called Himself. Okay, he's talking about having kids and all that. Well, that's every family.
Yeah.
And so you related with him, and those were real stories. Okay, I don't believe they were made up.
Right.
Okay, this was him talking about his life as a father.
Yes.
And his life as in his family, and so you related to that because everybody had stories either identical to that or very much like that from their own family.
Absolutely.
And so as we related to him, we all felt like we knew him. Okay, during that period, up until the time that we found out that he was a pervert.
Yeah.
All right. Up until that time, everybody thought that if Bill Cosby were to walk into your house tonight, you could just say he could just sit down for dinner, and it would be like you had known him your whole life.
Absolutely.
Unlike these other people in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why everybody was so surprised and hurt when they heard these allegations.
Oh, I mean, I could remember some of the comments that came out from people that worked with him on the Cosby Show. Felicia Rashad, as a matter of fact, coming out and making the controversial comment she made. There were so many people. I mean, I knew people that older than me that really loved watching Bill Cosby that did not want to believe this for the longest time. And then finally the evidence just became overwhelming. But I'd venture to say there are probably still a lot of people that don't want to believe this because of, the fact that he was so relatable to everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, 232-1542. We'll have some sound bites we'll play throughout as well because the people defending Bill Cosby.
It got dirty.
It got really dirty.
It's about to get really dirty.
You know what's so cool about Jell-O gelatin pops? They taste just like Jell-O gelatin. But they've got a handle. So, while your right hand is doing this, your left hand can be doing this or, But if your left hand sees how much fun your right hand is having, it won't want to be left out. Now you have to share. Jell-O gelatin pops. Real Jell-O gelatin, only cooler.
Oh, my God. You got to be kidding me. Okay, if we should have just paid attention to what he was saying in that commercial years ago. Because, he spells it out right there. His left hand is so happy.
It puts that commercial on a new perspective.
It sure does. And then the right hand sees what the left hand is doing and gets jealous. No way I just heard that. No way.
When I listened to that commercial in the past, obviously never thought about that, but listening to it now, well, and that's the thing
everything
about
he
it,
says
man.
now has a whole new meaning.
And that's
everything.
And that's the thing about it, man, is that this guy went from a super clean reputation to all of a sudden everything he said now just is tarnished.
Yeah, well, everything he did was tarnished. This was going on for a really long time. And I'll tell you, all right, now here's the thing. Earlier today, after the sentencing, one of his PR directors, Andrew Wyatt, and I believe you have a soundbite.
Oh, I've got a couple of them.
He says, or should you want to play it?
Oh, yeah.
Let's play it. You play it instead of me reading it. We can hear him say it.
Mr. Cosby clearly has been denied his right to a fair trial. These injustices must be corrected immediately.
He said the Cosby trial was racist and accuses the women of making money off of accusing black men.
Yeah. Well,
never mind that there were black women that were involved in this as well.
Okay, that's all right. Now, it was just a matter of time before the race thing came up, okay? So now he's been convicted. Now he's been sentenced, and he says, I quote, "I believe and think it is important to point out that this has been the most racist and sexist trial in the history of the United States."
The history?
Really? This is the most racist trial in the history of the United States? Because if that's true, Brandon, we don't have that bad of a history when it comes to racism in our court system.
Well,
right?
we know
because
the truth, though. It's not.
No, of course it's not. But let me tell you where I see this going.
Yeah.
Okay. Since the whole racism thing has been brought up, and we didn't bring it up, okay? Andrew Wyatt brought it up.
Yeah.
And he's saying that the reason that Bill Cosby was convicted and the reason that Bill Cosby's going to jail is because of the color of his skin.
Yeah.
This is where I see this going, all right? Kavanaugh is going to get confirmed, all right? They're going to do, I don't know what the current, because every day it changes. From hour to hour, it changes whether or not Ford is going to testify and what time and all this stuff. All right, Kavanaugh, let's say they do she testifies.
Right.
Kavanaugh testifies.
Okay.
They confirm him.
Yeah.
Then Wyatt is going to come forward and say, see, black people go to jail, white people go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of difference in that.
You explain that to Andrew Wyatt.
Yeah, well, he may not want to hear it, but a lot of it has to do with evidence, although Wyatt is also claiming that the Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele falsified evidence.
Mr. Steele introduced what he claimed was an accurate recording of conversations between Andrea Constand and Mr. Cosby. After recently being investigated, they found out that the tapes had been tampered with.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, that's what the defense attorney's job is. You know, if there's any claims like this that have any validity, then the defense should have brought that up.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is any. I don't think that holds water in any way. All right, this was just bound to happen. You know, this is what makes it so ridiculous. These kind of arguments, because the guy has so many people that accused him. And okay, this isn't like O.J. Simpson or Michael Jackson, all right? This is an 80-year-old guy who had a stellar reputation his entire career. He was America's dad. And so to bring him down, the evidence must have been very compelling.
It had to be overwhelming.
Yes.
It's not to say that it couldn't have happened with falsifying the evidence, but man, that's a lot.
That's a stretch,
and that's not a good defense if that's the case as well. 232-1542. All right, let's get some more callers involved. You're on the air, caller. Go ahead.
Hey guys, did y'all see the breaking news happening?
What's that?
Is there new?
Yeah, the news right there. They're arresting Kavanaugh, and they're going to confirm Cosby to the Supreme Court. There was a paper mix-up.
Now you see, you had us all concerned.
Yeah, but that's probably what's going to happen. Hey, that's probably what's going to happen, man.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for the call.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, Brandon. Yeah, if you go back to when Bill Cosby's nightmare started, seems to be right after he was warned to stop attending black colleges and telling the students that blacks need to stop blaming everyone else, get an education, get a job, and make it on your own.
Okay.
This is Bill Cosby's nightmare. He did not do what he was told. I remember this vividly. Now, to touch base a little bit on Kavanaugh, don't you notice how you see on Crime Stoppers, people have them on videotape.
Okay.
You can identify them.
Yes.
They are still considered suspects.
Right.
Or accusers.
Well, and that's true, but unfortunately not in the political world, because in the political world it's all about which side you're on, Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you this though, because you drew upon something where you were talking about Bill Cosby and the universities, and all of a sudden this stuff started coming out. So do you think this is part of an effort to take him down because he was saying things that maybe people on the left don't agree with?
Absolutely, Brandon. And I believe you believe what I'm telling you.
No. I don't believe that. Now, is it coincident? Now, okay. Well, okay. Let's make sure we go down a little bit further. Then, do you believe that he is guilty of what he's been convicted of?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now,
all right. Well, okay. But
so
you think? Do you?
Yeah.
I
get
think,
where he's going now.
Okay. So you think that these charges would have never come up if he would have followed the instructions that he was given?
I think it would be an 80% chance.
Okay,
no,
that's interesting.
I could understand.
It's an
that.
interesting opinion. I hadn't heard that, but I guess there could be some type of conspiracy, because I'll tell you, long before these charges were made and long before official allegations were made, that was apparently the DL in Hollywood.
Right.
Okay, the down and low information. Everybody kind of knew it was Hollywood's little secret. And, because there were jokes and innuendo made for years about Bill Cosby drugging women. And then all of a sudden people started making the accusations and remembering, I remember when this person said this, and I remember when that person said that. So apparently a lot of people in Hollywood did know about it.
Yeah, I won't discount that. I do think, and thank you so much, caller. I do think that this is part of something that's bigger, though. And what in the world is playing in the background around this?
I don't know.
I don't know if I don't know. Some audio coming from over there. We'll figure that out. But
there's a ghost in the machine.
I don't know, man. But talking about fantasy football and stuff. But anyway, this is a part of something that's much bigger, and this is the Me Too movement. Okay, now this is the first celebrity that has gone to jail from the Me Too movement.
Yep.
You've also got the thing against Harvey Weinstein. Okay, that's big too.
Yeah,
but
he's going down too.
He is going down. Okay. It's just a matter of time.
Yes,
but this is something that's bigger than just Bill Cosby.
Well, I think you're right, but I think that bringing down Bill Cosby is so incredibly significant for the Me Too movement.
Absolutely.
Okay, because first off, he's old. Okay, and so it is hard to convict an 81-year-old man.
Yeah.
Okay, there's sympathy for him.
He's
got a reputation. He's blind.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Okay, so to charge and bring to trial and convict a blind 81-year-old man, that is no easy challenge right there. It is hard for a jury to agree that this guy is dirty. Second, it is hard to put that man in jail. There was talk of him being under house arrest or him even getting probation.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a lot of people out there talking. They didn't think he was actually going to go to prison. This is a big day for the Me Too movement.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the possibility of falsified evidence in the sense. I mean, like I think of the Duke lacrosse case and the fact that the situation that they put those lacrosse players under. And, yes, there may be some district attorneys across the country that can see a high-profile case and try to make a name off of it. There's the possibility that this really came up after he started going through the universities and such. But the bottom line is, if he did what he did, and it looks like that's the case, that man deserves to go to jail.
It doesn't matter. Matter. Even if there was a conspiracy, I'm glad there was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Good thing. Okay, good thing that they finally got him.
232-1542. All right, let's get another call before we go to a break. You're up, caller. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Great show as usual.
Thank you, sir.
The thing that a lot of people don't realize. We always hear you got an unfair trial, and they're pulling up the race thing, and people are trying to make money off of a famous black man. What about the lawyers that are trying to make money using the race car?
Yeah.
I mean, this is getting ridiculous. Every time an African-American or another ethnic group gets arrested and charged with something, the lawyer comes back and says it's racist. Well, think about the simple fact, maybe he did it, he's guilty. Live with it. You know?
Hey, listen.
Trying to make money off of everybody else.
Well, I tell you, there are hot items out there in every industry, and the lawyer business is no different. Okay, that is the new thing right now, and in 10 years it might be something different.
Thank you, caller. All right, we're going to go ahead and take this quick commercial break. When we come back, more of your phone calls as we continue discussing today's biggest news with Bill Cosby.
Welcome back, everybody. We're having a nice conversation about a bad situation. Bill Cosby. Boy, I was a big fan for the longest time.
Me too.
I remember watching that video with my parents and my brothers and with all my friends over the years. And as I mentioned to you before, and what I'm talking about is himself, I think it's called, where he's talking about his family life and having children and childbirth, natural childbirth, and the chocolate cake and all those different fun things that he was discussing about family life. And I still enjoy it. I still pull it up every now and then on YouTube and watch a few minutes of it, and it's a good way to kind of lighten up your day. But man, I tell you now, everything that this guy has done is completely different. I'm watching him in that video, and I'm thinking to myself, who did he drug that night?
Absolutely.
After he did that video, because that's what comes to mind. Is there somebody back in his dressing room right now that's all pilled up, that he's going to go and strip their clothes off, have sex with them, then dress them, and then put him in a cab to go home.
Well,
think about how scary that would be. Okay, to wake up all of a sudden you're at somebody's house.
Yeah,
right, having a conversation, normal. Then all of a sudden you wake up and you're at your home. That's creepy.
Well, I mean, we got introduced to this when Darren Sharper got convicted of some similar stuff too.
Yeah,
of course, Darren Sharper, former New Orleans Saints Super Bowl player. Now, one of the people that says that she was victimized by Bill Cosby, former model Janice Dickinson, says justice was served.
I'm vindicated.
And then here's another one as well, as she said that justice was served for Andrea Constand.
She was a virgin. She collapsed in court. She was absolutely victorious today.
Yeah.
And, I'll say this. Whenever she came out and made the accusations, because of her history of reality TV and how Janice Dickinson and how ugly of a personality she's displayed on TV, for me, that almost actually, because it was early on in it, it almost made it to me as if it wasn't credible.
It tarnished it.
It tarnished it.
Definitely.
But as it went along, she did not become the face of it. And Andrea Constand, she tried.
Okay, she wanted to take the limelight.
Right, but Andrea Constand and some of the others became more of the face of it. And I can't help but wonder if that was purposefully done, because it eventually worked in getting him in prison.
They needed her to shut up and get away from the cameras, okay, because she was trying to make it all about her, and she's very unlikable. Okay, God. She's a very unlikable person, quite annoying in many ways, and she had that party girl image, even at her age right now.
Right.
Okay, they got all these images of her in the club, and she's twerking on everybody, and it's disgusting. Okay, and that was the last thing that they needed as a face and identity for this entire trial.
232-1542. All right, we head now to the Cajun Harley Hotline. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
That's me?
That's you.
Okay, this is what I think. I think they got, I don't know, maybe 500 of these Bill Cosbys in the celebrity crowd, but they're keeping them hidden for a special moment in time so that when something occurs and they need, like, for example, you're talking about this Me Too movement.
Yes. Yep.
They create, I'm not saying Bill Cosby is innocent. What I'm saying is they knew this guy was like this. They fed him. They continued to let him be this way until a proper moment in time where they released this information, and then they created a movement. And now what we see is Kavanaugh being set up to make it look like he's guilty of something similar, but the odds are he didn't do anything.
Yeah, well,
but it puts a doubt in everybody's mind that Kavanaugh actually did, because
that's exactly right.
We have an epic moment here where somebody like Bill Cosby has been found guilty, and now anytime somebody comes up with this scenario, we're going to say, well, wow, man, maybe he actually is guilty.
Yeah, well, now there's a big movement out, and a lot of big names in the Me Too movement are saying clearly that if a woman makes an accusation of sexual assault and or rape, they should simply just be believed.
Yeah.
Evidence is not important. Evidence does not matter. Credibility doesn't matter. Just the fact that they're a woman and they're making this claim means that they should be believed, and it makes them believable simply because of their gender. And I think that that's very, very dangerous. That means that if we were to start following that, okay, and we started to believe every accusation without having to follow up with evidence or credibility or witnesses or anything to back it up, then every man is at risk. Okay, that means us, that means our fathers, our sons, our uncles, all of that, our nephews. Every man is at risk of being falsely accused. And being falsely accused means being found guilty in the public eye.
Well, I think a lot of the leaders in this Me Too movement are trying to lower that bar. They're trying to lower that threshold, as you were just saying. And I think they're trying to model, the people that are going after Kavanaugh are trying to model it after what's going on with Bill Cosby and what's going on with Weinstein. But for them, the evidence is just not there like in these cases.
Now there's more accusations against Kavanaugh.
But they're baseless.
They're baseless. Now they're saying, him and his college friends used to organize gang rapes.
Yeah.
Okay, come on. I mean, this is just getting ridiculous.
Yeah, 232-1542. Thank you, caller. We go back to the Cajun Harley hotline. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Yes, am I on the air?
Yes, sir.
Yes, hello.
Okay, I'm calling. I just want to make a comment on the Bill Cosby verdict. It's funny what you guys just said about Kavanaugh being falsely accused. Now, Cosby did admitted that it was consensual sex with these women. Now, how do we know these women are not just making these stories up, trying to get a big payday? And it did happen, but it's consensual. I mean, does that doubt creep into anyone's mind?
Well, are you trying to draw a parallel between the races here? Because you mentioned about Kavanaugh and that we believe that the evidence that there's a lot of lack of evidence against Kavanaugh, but that we believe the evidence against Bill Cosby. Do you believe it's a racial thing? Is that the parallel you're trying to draw?
No. I am a black man, and I don't use the race card at all.
Okay.
I'm just saying you have to keep open mind. You don't know all the evidence, all the things we have against Kavanaugh. We don't know that. Just at the beginning, you stated that y'all didn't believe it was true about Bill Cosby. So you can't have a double standard believing that it's not true about Judge Kavanaugh.
No, well, what we were saying is that we didn't, when it first came out,
right?
Okay, when these accusations first began, that we didn't want to believe it, and that most people didn't want to believe it because we came to know Bill Cosby as this father figure, and he had never been accused of anything. He had never been in any trouble. Now he's, an old man. I mean, at that time, he was in his late 70s, and now all these incredibly horrible accusations came out at the same time. And what we were explaining is that we, like most Americans, just really didn't want to believe it.
Can I say one thing that makes it easier to believe, besides the evidence, that makes it easier to believe that against Bill Cosby and not believe against Brett Kavanaugh? Because the women that came out and against Bill Cosby did so through the court systems. The women that are coming out against Brett Kavanaugh are doing it through the political arena.
Woman. Well, that's another different.
Oh. No, there's two. Remember, there's a second woman that's now involved in the Kavanaugh thing.
Okay, but has she made? Okay, but neither one of them. You're absolutely right. Okay, but neither one of them have made any type of testimony.
No.
Okay, they haven't given a statement to the police.
Nope.
They haven't done it. Okay, they're just saying this. It's rumor at this point.
Exactly.
Okay, it is nothing but rumor at this point.
And that's my point. They're going to the political arena. They're not going to the court of law like these women did against Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
You there, caller?
Okay. Yes, I'm here. I
Yes,
totally understand. I still just think it's a double standard, and then later on, we never know. It may be another accuser that comes out against Judge Kavanaugh, and then everyone's opinions may change. And like I said,
you're right. Okay, everybody's opinions very well may change if more accusers come out with valid accusations.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Kavanaugh is guilty?
Oh, no, I'm not going to make a judgment
okay.
one way or the other, but I will keep an open mind as far as Mr. Cosby. He said he did agree that he had sex with these women, but it was all consensual, and that happens a lot. Women that do have consensual sex, and then they'll come back later, especially a man of his wealth.
Well, I'll tell you something, caller. One thing that people don't want to hear and don't want to believe is that people do lie.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
So I hear what you're saying. People do, in fact, lie, and they will lie for money. They will lie because of guilt. They will lie for revenge. They will lie for all kinds of reasons. And I've given examples on this show before. I watched a woman accuse this man of rape one time, and he was being charged. And it was only because she had gotten caught having sex with him by her sister-in-law, the sister of her husband. And so, but videotape later on confirmed that it was consensual. But she was watching this guy get arrested and getting charged for rape. His life would have been ruined.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. I understand the stories. I mean, I've lived a while. Like I said, we just got to keep on. I mean, it's done. What's done is done with Mr. Cosby. I have sympathy for him. But like I say, this was a lot of years ago, similar to Judge Kavanaugh, but 30 years ago, this stuff happened.
Yes.
And yes, and these women could have did that consensually, especially if they were under influence of drugs.
Yeah, well, the thing, another difference between this and Kavanaugh is that with Kavanaugh, there was no intercourse. Okay, she was just saying that he was groping him. I mean, the descriptions that I've gotten from that scenario, if in fact it was him, it was this was just some 17-year-old guy trying to get to second base.
All right, thank you, sir. We're going to go ahead and take this quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got one more segment here in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Offsides, everybody. Time to talk a minute about Cajun Harley-Davidson. Cajun Harley-Davidson has got a new program called Warranty Forever. Warranty Forever is a limited lifetime powertrain warranty, and it is included on every motorcycle, every new Harley-Davidson and pre-owned Harley-Davidson that is less than 5 years old. It's a great opportunity. If you are in the market for a motorcycle, you should go on over to Cajun Harley-Davidson. And I'll tell you another thing, Brandon. This is the only Harley-Davidson dealership within a 200-mile radius that has Warranty Forever.
And look, when you get to Cajun Harley-Davidson, first off, you'll see before you get in the building is the Jump Start, which is a really cool opportunity for you to get an opportunity to sit on a Cajun Harley-Davidson motorcycle. And just basically, if you're not familiar with it, you can learn it. If you are familiar with it, well, you can just have fun on it as well. Just, learning how to shift it into the gears and all that good stuff. It's really just a great situation where, I mean, look, it takes... Remember when you were a kid and you go to the store or whatever, and you'd have the horse that you could ride on as a kid?
Yes.
Well, this is like for grown-ups.
For grown-ups, yeah.
Yes.
It's like a live video game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, come on by Cajun Harley-Davidson. As for Shay, Steven, Shark, or Big Cat, great sales team over there. They're waiting to hook you up. All right, so we're talking about Bill Cosby. He was sentenced today, 3 to 10 years, and a lot of phone calls coming in, people holding on. We appreciate that. Let's go to the phone line.
Caller, you're up on the Cajun Harley hotline. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey.
So I just wanted to make a thing about being able to separate the art from the artist, because we had to do this also whenever Roman Polanski got convicted of his, or whatever happened with him and that little girl. But basically, even though Bill Cosby is now a convicted rapist, I think that a lot of the things he talked about and all still hold true. Mm-hmm. And we should be able, as a society, to separate the fact that he has done horrible things, but he might have also had some decent ideas.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there are many people that would love for us to just concentrate on the bad things that he did and flush the good ideas down with that. And I think that's a great point that you bring up, that, maybe he's the one that's been found guilty of doing all this stuff, but there needs to be other people that carry on the good ideas that he had about family and about life in general, and carry those good ideas on with him.
Yeah, I still enjoy his work. Mm-hmm. As I was saying before, I pull his stuff up on YouTube frequently, and I watch it. And you make a good point, Cole. You know, we need to separate the man and the crimes that he has committed, mm-hmm. the art from the artist. That's exactly right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with the caller that you just spoke with, and also the other caller. I'm going to address when he remembers when Bill Cosby broached the issue with the black community and the young men that weren't taking care of kids and everything else. Mm-hmm. I would have voted for the guy for president at that point.
Yeah,
because he was attacking the issues.
Yeah, that's right. Important issues.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
232-1542.
And another great thing about Bill Cosby mm-hmm. is that he was one of those artists, entertainers, that he had an equal amount of followers between the black and the white community. Mm-hmm. And that's very unique.
Yeah, absolutely. 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that all of this with Bill Cosby started around the same time he was having conservative views towards our buddy Mr. Obama. So put that into perspective too. It's very suspicious of the timing, like that one caller said, there's a lot of ladies out there that at that time did stuff like that, and it was not unheard of. So anyhow, it is what it is.
So you also think that there's a possible conspiracy there, that all the women were keeping their mouths shut, and then when he started going with more conservative views publicly, that's when they decided to come forward?
I mean, I don't know. It's highly suspicious and kind of irregular, one might say, and how much were the people paid and who organized it. There's just a lot of things that go on. If they wanted to smear Brandon, it would be something that would be done. There's nothing stopping that. It's not about the law. It's about what you accuse.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
All right, 232-1542. You're up next, caller. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, caller.
Hello, this is Greg. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of surprised. I actually was a cop for 10 years. And, the thing is with this is, there's a time frame that she actually went and told her parents that she was raped. This woman, nobody even knows anything about it, I'm just 36 years. And now this woman, and she told multiple people. And now all of a sudden, 36 years later, she's like, oh, I've been raped and all these things. It kind of don't add up. It's a matter of this woman was raped and drugged. I mean, I'm surprised they're only getting just 3 to 10. I mean,
I was shocked at that too.
I was shocked at that too. I think that I was concerned that he was not concerned. I was thinking that he was going to get life, or what would be equivalent to life for somebody his age. Which is, if they give him 20 to 30 years, he's done.
Which is why I'm surprised that we've heard so much more about the women that are excited about the sentence and feel like they got justice, as opposed to, he got off with only 3 to 10 years.
Well, that's another thing. He's 81 right now. There's not a very strong chance that he's going to come out alive.
Yeah. All right, caller, thank you so much. Well, that'll do it for us here in the 4 o'clock hour. But coming up in the 5, we'll have a brand new discussion lined up for you here on Offsides.
Hi, Acadiana, and welcome to Offsides. I'm Shannon Wilkerson here with Brandon Comeaux. Thanks for joining us for today's broadcast. We'll be with you until 6 o'clock. It's currently 5:09 Tuesday afternoon. Really dark and raining here at Town Square Media. And so if you're just leaving work and heading home, be careful, because it looks like we got some heavy thunderstorms rolling across Acadiana.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, we've got a lot of stalled vehicles popping up on our screen. And so please be careful, as some of the roadways are... Obviously, it's been raining during the day, and so some of these roadways are building up a little bit more water than maybe you're used to seeing. So if you come up on a water puddle or an area that's got more water than it should, just either be cautious going through it or just go another route. That's what we'd recommend, is go another route. Don't put your vehicle in danger.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so here on Offsides, we talk a lot about millennials. And we normally don't talk very favorably about millennials, because most of the statistics and the information about this demographic, not very appealing. Brandon and I basically rag them on a regular basis, and it's easy to do because they give us a lot of material to feed off of. However, today, we've got some good information about millennials that we're going to discuss with you. At 232-1545, the Cajun Harley hotline, you can join in. And what that information is that now it seems that people that are under 45 are getting lower divorce rates. In fact, between 2008 and 2016, married people under 45, divorce rates have gone down 18%. Now, a lot of theories out there as to why this is happening. Many people believe, and I think this is pretty accurate, is that the younger generation, most of them are waiting to get married until they have finished their education and have become involved in their careers. Yep. And so, therefore, by the time most of these young people get married, they have matured, they have been through a handful of relationships, and so they are better qualified to make a relationship more lasting, and they know what they're looking for. They know what they need in a relationship, and so they're beginning marriages at an older age, most of them in their 30s, as opposed to people 20, 30 years ago would normally get married in their early 20s.
Absolutely. Well, my wife and I fall into this age group of millennials and fall in And looking through some of this data that's come out and some of the reasons that we're discussing here definitely would apply to us in the sense that, we waited until after college, until after our careers got really going, before getting married. And so, there is an appeal to that in the sense of being ready, being in a better place financially than maybe getting married right out of high school. Now, a lot of baby boomers got married early on, and unfortunately, we're seeing the divorce rates really high in that generation.
Yeah.
And what's happened a lot is you've had marriages there, then you've got divorce, and then, second and third marriages have worked out for them, and that's great that it's worked out there. But unfortunately, the generational differences are showing that in baby boomers, the divorce rate is much higher. Not even just in the sense of when they got married, but also even what's called, I think, grade divorce, where they're getting divorced later in life in their 60s and even 70s.
Absolutely.
Which is always amazing to me, at getting a divorce at that age. I guess it just depends on how long the couple's been together.
Well, I agree. I've got some opinions about this. Okay, first, about the millennials.
Yes.
Okay, this information is very encouraging. However, it could be skewed simply because it is incomplete at this point.
Right.
The reason being is that the baby boomers that you're talking about, or my generation,
right,
they got married in their early 20s. Okay,
Yeah.
so after they were married, maybe 20, 25 years, now they're 40-ish, or okay, and they get divorced. Many of them got divorced. Since the millennial demographic is waiting longer, all right, and they're getting married in their 30s or so, not enough time has gone by in their marriages for that data to be complete.
Absolutely.
Okay, like yourself. You fall under that same category, right? But you've only been married a few years.
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah,
2.5 years. Okay, congratulations. But the point that I'm making is that I think that for this data to be accurate, we're going to have to wait another 20 years. Okay?
And I agree.
Because that demographic may get divorced at the same rate as the baby boomers. It's just that their marriages are young. Their marriages are new. Getting to the baby boomers and what you were talking about, the older people getting divorced. Between 1995 and 2015, age group between 55 and 64, the divorce rate doubled, from what it was previously. Now, here's why I think that has happened. I think that the reason that has happened is because of social media. Why do I say that? Okay, my mother's generation, my parents' generation, right, when they were faced with divorce, all right, they did not have very many options when it came to finding a new spouse. Okay, they didn't want to go out to clubs. Okay, now they're 40 years old, they're 50 years old. To socialize back then, you had to go out all the time to socialize. Now, the availability of socializing and dating sites, and they even have these online dating sites specially catered towards middle-aged people.
Our Time, I think, is
Our
one
Time,
of them.
there's many of them out there.
Yeah.
And I think that now people that are older in that baby boomer demographic and that generation, the idea of divorce isn't as intimidating to them because now they know that there are options out there available for them to be able to find a new partner. Also, when, like, for example, when my parents divorced when I was 6, 7 years old, okay, my mom, now she's a single mom. She's got 4 boys to raise. Okay, there was very limited to no availability for her at that time to be able to socialize to find a new spouse.
Right.
Okay. Whereas now, a person that needs to get a divorce or is considering divorce, if they have children, they have a career, they still have the availability through social media to find a new partner.
Absolutely. 232-1542. And I think a lot of that explains why the boomers are still divorcing at much higher rates than previous generations have at that age.
They've reconnected with people from high school.
Yeah.
You know, they've got these online dating sites, and now all of a sudden, hey, this isn't a happy marriage. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be spending the rest of my life alone.
Right.
You go back 30 years, it's a different story.
Absolutely. I think while millennials are getting married in later ages, and that's so far proven to be beneficial in the sense of making sure they're more financially steady, maybe more emotionally steady as well. At the same time, I will say this, there is so much knowledge and experience to gain from the baby boomers and the older generations from millennials that millennials can glean from, whether it's learning from the mistakes made by the baby boomers or whether it's learning from those marriages that have been together 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're saying that millennials have figured everything out here.
No, like I said, it's incomplete.
It's incomplete.
Yes.
But they are showing as a generation this is smarter in the sense that they can wait to have themselves more established before getting into a marriage,
yes,
which can prove beneficial, which is starting to prove beneficial now, but the jury's kind of still out.
It is. And I believe that many of these marriages from the millennial generation, okay, I don't believe that all of them had planned it like this. Okay. I know a lot of young people who swore for the longest time they would never get married throughout their 20s. I have nothing to do with it. Yeah. But then they get a little bit older and they may even have a child with somebody and they calm down a little bit. And then all of a sudden the idea of marriage isn't so bad. And then they meet somebody significant and then the idea of marriage seems very appealing to them. Yeah. And so it's not all by design. A lot of it just has to do with the natural the natural maturing of them.
I do think a lot of this as well, though, is that what you're getting now more is less people are marrying now than they used to, and people are more cohabitating with each other. Yeah. So, you know, they may break up, but that doesn't get recorded in a study like this. That's right.
And being a single parent doesn't have the baggage that it used to.
Absolutely. 232-1542. Lots of reasons. We'll be discussing them throughout the hour. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have two spins on what you guys are talking about. Okay. The other side of it, I think that a lot of people may not realize is that there's a lot of 70-year-olds getting divorces because the way the state and tax laws have changed since 95, and you can look it up, they actually, if they fall into any kind of medical distress, they lose the form. So a lot of people aren't getting help, $500,000 operations and things like that, without getting that divorce because double incomes or maybe, you know, the wife might not have anything if they get a divorce or whatever, could easily get that help.
Yeah.
There's even stories that nursing homes won't even take people unless they fall into this certain criteria, and you're having people getting kicked out unless they get divorces because that's kind of like the mandate in the paperwork. So on the other side of those millennials, I don't think that they have are staying together because life is peachy for them and they figured it out. If you look at these statistics on all these sex apps and like Tinder and whatnot, their demographic is that age group. And if you do the math with that and all of these folks that are staying together, they're not monogamous. Apparently not. So they just have a more open, non-monogamous relationship perhaps, and they find that, yeah, this is my buddy and I can go get these other things elsewhere. And it kind of makes them happy.
I don't know about that second part.
I don't know.
Now, I will say the first part of what you were talking about with older couples, I mean, I've heard of those stories come up recently where for tax reasons and I get
Medicaid, there's all kinds of benefits that are available to single people that are not available to married people, or at least the benefits are larger as a single person versus if you're a married person.
But thanks for the call.
I've never heard of that either. It's interesting.
Yeah, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
So I have a bit of a different take on than the last caller on why the millennials are staying together more, or why we millennials got to stick together, Brandon.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, how old are you, by the way?
27.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, yeah. All right. Go ahead, man.
Well, I find there's like a, not necessarily a movement, but there's a mindset with my generation where we grew up and we see what broken homes do to people and how it affects people. And nobody wants to do that to their child.
Yeah.
So I think we are more reserved when it comes to deciding to get married, for sure. Because I know when I was younger, I wanted nothing to do with marriage. And as I get older, it's like, oh, maybe it won't be too bad. But you got to make sure that it's with the right person. And with these rise of these dating apps, I think what's really happening is there's being a difference drawn between a marital relationship and just a purely sexual relationship, where if these people want to get their flings, they go on the dating apps. But whenever they want somebody of actual substance, they're going to get off of those dating apps. They're going to start looking around. They're going to meet people.
Yeah, or they'll go to different type of dating apps. I have a very good friend of mine who met her husband online through one of those dating apps and one of those dating sites, rather. And they've been together for several years. They have a child together and a very successful marriage.
Don't judge all dating sites by one or two of them. There are many of them. There are some that have been known as being basically hookup sites, but there are some that have produced some long-lasting couples because you have some on them where people are getting on there for the right reasons.
Yeah, well, these algorithms are written that way, and they really get into the psyche of the people that are applying to participate in this. Yeah. And they can be quite accurate.
Yeah, I've actually tried eHarmony before, and I got along with the person really well. It's just she lived halfway across the country, and neither one of us were committed to a move.
Right.
So that didn't work out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, some of those dating sites do a really good job at finding true compatibility.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's probably just going to improve from this point on as long as we don't abandon the concept of what marriage is supposed to be for, having a long-lasting relationship with another person and rearing children.
Yeah, and different people have a different opinion and outlook on what marriage is significant for them.
That's true.
And that's how all these different sites really play a big part with it. They've got Christian dating sites.
Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle, that's exactly right. They've got middle-aged. They've got all kinds of different dating sites. And as I mentioned before, these algorithms are written to make these couples compatible that have different outlooks of what a relationship means.
Yeah. Well, good topic, guys.
Okay,
well, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate hearing from you. All right, 232-1542. We're going to go ahead and take this quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue on with the conversation. We invite you to be a part of it. Before we get back to the discussion at hand, I want to tell you about our friends over at Red Royal House Buyers. Now, if you're facing any situation and selling your home fast would help you, please give them a call. They can close on your house at your convenience.
Yeah, and some great reasons that you should contact Red Royal House Buyers. They will buy your house as is with cash. No fees, no commission. You won't have to make any repairs. I think that those are really significant issues. Most importantly, they will close on your timeline to meet your needs.
Here's something that's important as well, that they are a local, trusted company and member of the Better Business Bureau, and they are ready to work with you. Red Royal House Buyers, you need to sell. They are ready to help. 337-509-0040.
Yeah. All right, so back to our conversation about millennials, and of course, we invite your phone calls at 232-1542, the Cajun Harley hotline. What we were discussing is that the millennials now have lowered the divorce rate for people that are married under 45. Between 2008 and 2016, the divorce rate has gone down 18%. As we were discussing in our first segment, a lot of people believe that's because that age group has waited to get married. They're getting married in their 30s as opposed to getting married in their 20s. And, even as each generation goes by, I can see that it's getting older and older. The question that kind of comes to mind with me is that what's going to happen with the next generation? Okay, they're going to wait till 40s. Okay, now, one thing out there is that we do live longer than we did before. So to compare my generation or yours, or people even younger than you, to that of my parents, okay, that is a significant difference. Okay, my parents are now older, and they are enjoying the fact that they are living longer statistically than their parents did. Okay, statistically, I would expect to live longer than they are.
Right.
Okay, and so forth. Now, one thing's for sure: with each passing generation, you got more and more people living into their 90s, reaching 100. That used to be very uncommon. And so people do see their lifespan as much longer than it used to be. And so but here's the drawback, okay, is whether or not you want to have kids.
Right.
Okay. Because even with modern technology now, women, they can't always conceive. And when they do conceive later in life, in their 30s, sometimes in their early 40s, there's much more complications.
I think life expectancy definitely has something to play in this, because if you feel you have more time, you don't necessarily feel like you have to do this big step now. And I think that with baby boomers having a lot shorter of a life expectancy, getting into marriage for them was something that they felt like they had to do at an earlier age, especially when they felt that they met that right person. Because look, you only have so many days on this earth. Well, now people are living longer. Yep. And so now they say, hey, look, I can accomplish more here while I'm single before I decide to settle down and get married. There's a few things here I want to point out as well before we go back to the phone lines, because I thought one caller talked about it really well earlier when he talked about millennials and seeing examples of broken homes growing up. I think that I want to reiterate that I do think that a lot of millennials have learned from, again, the mistakes and the positives of the generations ahead of them, the baby boomers in particular, and seeing maybe some of those broken homes and saying, well, hey, I do not want to repeat that. And by default, then waiting a little bit longer to get married, but also by seeing some of the positives and the role models that they've seen going through with some of the couples that have made it last and such.
Like Bill Cosby?
Well, not Bill Cosby. let's leave him in the 4 o'clock hour.
Sure.
But I think
because he's married a long time.
Yes, but I think they're learning from both of those situations. And I think that another thing as well, and it goes along with the life expectancy also, I do think that fewer people, I think marriage it's more and more like considered an achievement of status rather than something that people do.
Well,
just because back in that time period with the baby boomers, marriage was just something that you did.
Everybody did it. That's exactly right. It was
now
expected.
It's not looked at that you have to get married.
I'll tell you another
right now.
reason is because that generation, it wasn't very well accepted for them to live together. Mm-hmm. Even my older brother, I remember when he had, I had an older brother who's 6-7 years older than me. He's 6 years older than me. And I remember he had a girlfriend and they were moving in together. Now this is in probably about 1980. Okay. Give or take a year. And no, it was earlier than that. Okay. Late 70s.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal that he was moving in with this girl and they weren't married. I mean, that we had relatives that were not happy about it. I remember even one of our neighbors gave him a bunch of grief about it. So now it's not that big of a deal if a young couple is sharing a home together. Mm-hmm. It's even not that big of a deal if a young couple has a child together. And so society's view on relationships has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay. The baby boomers, man, if you were shacking up, that was a big deal. Yeah. Okay. And if you had a child out of wedlock, man, that was a huge deal. Mm-hmm. Now that's different now. And so the whole outlook on relationships from society has changed, and we're a lot more accepting of different roles when it comes to these relationships. Like you said before, that was it. You met somebody, you got married. Right. Plus, here's a big one: no birth control.
Yeah.
Okay. So guess what? If you wanted to have sex, you had a big risk of getting pregnant. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you wanted to have sex, you better get married.
Yeah. 232-1542. All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for having me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many good points. Y'all stole so much thunder. But the one that I didn't hear was, how about the marriage rate in general versus the divorce rate? If the marriage rate has gone down, then it would make sense that only the people that are more serious about marriage are getting married, and therefore the divorce rate would go down.
That's a great point, and I think you've hit the nail on the head in that regard.
That less people are being married?
Yes.
Okay, well, the study that gave us this data did applied that to their outcome. And the data that they came up with basically said that this was applied to just simple people, to people that did get married. They took that out of the equation. But that was something I considered as well. Okay, so less people getting married, less people getting divorced. But according to this study, that doesn't apply to their rates.
Yeah, but now we have to consider that people that are getting married are more serious about it, is what my point was.
Yes.
Oh, that is a good point. And, another thing is that I think that people, when they get a little bit older, they realize that being married does give you a different status, I guess, when it comes to in the business world. For example, if you're not supposed to have this bias, and you might not even know that you have this bias, but if you're interviewing somebody, and let's say it's a 35-year-old man, all right, and he's single, right, you are going to see him as a different person as opposed to a 35-year-old man who has married and has a child.
No, absolutely. I think that's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm on the air.
You are on the air.
Yes, hello.
Okay, I just want to point out something real quick.
Uh-huh.
Back up in the 90s, my brother was Social Security for him and his wife and stuff. Well, my godchild turned 18 years old.
Okay.
Well, my brother's taking insulin and all this for diabetes. Well, when he ends up, my godchild turned 18. Him off the Social Security and his wife, and so he couldn't pay his house note. He couldn't buy groceries.
Right.
He went to get food stamps. They wanted to give him $6 a month in food stamps, and he says, "Well, how come she can't get Social Security?" And I swear to God, I'll raise my hand to you because I played music professionally for a living.
Yes, sir.
And I talked to John Bro about this in Washington, D.C., and his wife vouched for this. They told my brother, get a divorce, let her come back in, and she can draw Social Security.
Yeah, I've heard more of those stories come up.
It does. It happens. And some people have to do it just to be able to survive and be able to pay their bills and keep the lights on.
Thank you, caller.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, let's go ahead and take this quick commercial break. When we come back, more of your phone calls here on Offsides.
Welcome back, everybody. Shannon Wilkerson, Brandon Comeaux. Going to take a moment to talk about our friends over at LA Solar Film. You know, the bad weather today has been raining and windy, and it reminds me that LA Solar Film has got a really interesting product called Security Film. What this is that they can come out and tint your windows, but if you get the Security Film when they're tinting it, it will actually put a protective layer over your window, which means that when storms stir up, like they do here in South Louisiana, even hurricanes, you always have that risk of flying debris. The wind is throwing things around. If you have things in your yard or just branches, you always have the risk of a broken and shattered window. You won't have that risk if you get the Security Film offered by LA Solar Film.
Well, in working with LA Solar Film, of course, they protect you from some of the violent weather that Shannon was talking about, but also it protects you from that everyday weather that you have to deal with here in South Louisiana, such as the morning and afternoon glare from the sun. So LA Solar Film. You can find them at lasolarfilm.com. Estimates are always free. Make sure you call Greg for an on-site estimate at 534-8039, 534-8039. But also when you go to the website, you can enter the dimensions of your windows in the easy-to-use format that he has set up, and you can receive an instant quote.
Yep. All right, so let's go back to the phone lines. So they got the Cajun Harley hotline is lit up. People wanting to get into the conversation about millennials and the divorce rates.
All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, my suggestion to all the guys out there is to get you a passport, go to the Philippines, I did 20-something plus years ago.
Okay, now why didn't you bring back a wife?
I did. I've been married for about almost 20 years.
Wait, but you still go over to the Philippines.
Yeah, well, I'd go visit over there and stuff. But,
All right, thanks for calling.
Well, let's not jump into that.
I don't want to hear another word.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. First of all, I'll proudly say that I've been married for 41 years.
Oh, wow. Good work. Thank you.
Yeah, that's and you know what? I the day of my first date, I told my roommate I was going to marry that girl. So, sometimes you just know. But, I've got a daughter now who's 23, and the kids today approach dating a little bit different than we did. I think back in the 70s, I think sometimes we were dating with the idea of let's find that lifetime mate. And nowadays they date. Sometimes they date in groups. Sometimes, and they date, I think, a whole lot more informally than we do. And one of the things that I might have to say is that they become friends a lot longer before they get married than we did.
Yeah.
I met my wife. The next 3 days later, had our first date, and I mean, I was like, okay, that's it, I'm done. And
how old were you? How old were you?
I was 19.
Okay, go on.
Yeah.
No, and I just find that today they don't do that. They go out on that date, and it's more like, well, let's just go out and have a good time. And then when they find somebody in that group of friends, then it's they've known them longer. They know their morals. They know their values. They know who their friends are.
Mm-hmm. So then you just hit upon something, because I wanted to ask you this. How much do you feel, though, that being cautious is a factor in this as well? Because, see, there was a couple things you mentioned.
I don't think it's cautious.
Well, one thing was he mentioned about, telling his roommate that, this was the woman that he was going to marry. Mm-hmm. And I hear other stories about that where they've even, told the person that they were married to for 40-something years of, hey, I'm going to marry you one day. And you hear those successful stories. I feel like if that's the case now where, or if you've just met someone and, and 3 days later you start dating them, I feel like for some people, because of everything that goes on in the world that we live in, I feel like some people that kind of scares them off as opposed to years ago during the time that you were talking about. So I'm just wondering, caller, do you feel like maybe cautiousness has a little bit to do with it as well, and as opposed like waiting a little bit longer to jump into those relationships?
I don't know if it's caution. I just don't think they see the need to get married like we do.
I agree. The need isn't there. And I given a couple of reasons earlier. One of the reasons is that it's not that frowned upon anymore for young couples to live together. Okay, that used to be a big deal. 100%. Yeah, that used to be a big deal. It's also not really frowned upon for people to have children out of wedlock. Okay, that used to be a really big deal as well. And you bring up an interesting point that I think you're spot on with, is that dating now is very different. It's very informal now. I knew a young woman a few years back in a conversation told me, now she was probably 30, okay? And she was completely in a state of panic because a young man that she knew, had asked her out on a date, okay? And she had not been on a date since high school, like prom. Now, she had dated men, okay, but it was more like, okay, my friends are going over here and your friends are, let's all hook up together. I'll see you there, okay? I mean, like a formal date where the man goes to the house, knocks on the door, picks up the girl, takes her to dinner, takes her to a movie, then takes her home. That's just an example. Well, she didn't know how to behave, and she ended up breaking the date. She didn't go out on the date simply because she was so intimidated by the idea of going out on a date with this guy. And she even said, I wish he just would have said, meet me out somewhere, because then the intimidation factor wasn't going to be there for her. So you're right. Dating is very different now from than it was back then. Even in I'm a little bit younger than you, but it was very different for me as well.
If I may ask this, when I went out on dates, I paid for the date. I picked her up. I dropped her off. Uh-huh. And the first time that she ever drove was probably after we were married. Uh-huh. Today, the kids don't see it that way. I don't know if what my child goes through is similar, but I find they go out and they even pay for their own. They'll go to McDonald's and she'll take out her wallet, and he'll take out his wallet, or they'll go to the bowling alley, or they'll go to a nice restaurant and they'll ask for separate checks.
Wow.
And I find that to be very interesting. The other thing is that I find the guys today, when they make that little group of friends, that there might be 4 or 5 guys that will go to the end of the earth for any of those girls, and I think that's a wonderful thing. That they are very much protectors of the girls that are in their little circles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, thank you, caller.
Thanks for the call.
All right, 232-1542. You're on the air, caller. Go ahead.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Very well, thanks.
This happened in Lafayette with Mr. Cosby. I own a place that I do a lot of work for very wealthy people and some movie stars and so forth. So anyway, I got called to come to the front office. And there was Mr. Cosby. This happened in Lafayette. This is back in the 90s.
Yeah. Wait. We're not talking about Cosby now, brother. That was in the 4 o'clock conversation. Do you have anything to add to the millennials divorce rate?
No, I didn't. I just turned on the radio.
Okay. That's okay. That's all right.
That's all right. Well,
thanks for the call. We appreciate you listening.
We'll go ahead and take this quick commercial break. When we come back, more of your thoughts as we continue talking about marriages and how millennials are causing the U.S. divorce rate to plummet. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Offsides, everybody. Shannon Wilkerson, Brandon Comeaux. So listen, we're going to talk a little bit about our friend Chris Quibido. Chris Quibido with Cetera Advisors, located right here in Lafayette. Chris has the financial advice and experience you need to manage your money. Now, you may be working with a financial planner currently, but do you know exactly how each investment is designed to work specifically for you? Different financial plans work different for different people and their needs. And so you should definitely consider and give Chris a call.
Well, Chris is very diligent. He's informative, and he wants his clients to succeed. He will work with you to develop a plan that suits your needs. Now, if you need that plan to get you on track for retirement, give Chris Quibido a call at 205-6656. That's 205-6656. You can visit his website as well at retireabetterway.com and download his free ebook.
Yeah. Okay, so back to our conversation. We're talking about these millennials, and as I said in our opening segment, you know, Brandon and I here on Offsides, we talk kind of badly about that generation quite frequently, and that's because there's a lot of bad data out there, bad statistics, bad information, and so you know, we report on it and we discuss it. Well, this is not bad, okay, because it's looking like millennials kind of have a better, different approach when it comes to marriage, because the divorce rate is down 18% for people that are married under 44. Now, as we discussed a moment ago, that information is incomplete. Now, I'm encouraged by it, and I think that it's better than the other way around, of course. But, you know, the divorce rate amongst older people, those are people that have been married maybe 20 years or so and had children and now want to move on, and that maybe the marriage isn't fulfilling to them anymore after 20, 25 years of marriage. And so that time has not passed enough for the millennials to give us really specific data. I will say this. It's brought up, a caller brought this up earlier, saying that less people are getting married. Therefore, that's the reason that these rates are different. However, Cohen, which is the company that created this report, they took that into consideration. They report that the marriage rate has also fallen over the last several decades, but they calculate the divorce rate as a ratio of divorcees to the total number of married women. So the divorce rate decline isn't a reflection of the decline in marriages. So that's important.
Yeah. Another thing that they notice as well is many poor and less educated Americans are opting not to get married at all. And, you know, you've got a lot of areas where poverty is really taking its hold here in the country. We've always had poverty here, but in the past, you know, you had families getting married even despite being in poverty. Well, now what you've got a lot of situation is some people find it financially advantageous for them not to get married and to stay with that partner without tying the knot. And so that's something that goes into this as well. There's never just one reason for data like this to come out to the way that it has, which is why we've been discussing it for throughout the hour. There's so many different reasons as to why that we're seeing these numbers, but what we do see is that what we do know for sure is that millennials are waiting longer to get married than did generations ahead of them.
And I think that what is consistent, I believe that the majority of the millennials that are waiting to get married are doing so mostly because they want to get an education and a career first.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I think that has been to their benefit when it comes to the maturing, because young people are maturing at a different rate as well now. Okay. And so I think that a lot of young people right now at, let's say, 21 years old do not have the same maturity level as, let's say, people of the baby boomer generation did at 21 years old. Okay?
You had to grow up.
You had to grow up faster. That's exactly right. You were on your own.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not like that now.
No.
And so they are now maturing at a slower rate. And so what the maturity level was for somebody of the baby boomer generation was at, let's say, age 21. Now with the millennials is around 35.
Well, and you also have a lot of the baby boomers and especially the generation after them that are raising the millennials in the sense of they're raising them to where they're not necessarily forcing them maybe out of the house earlier, or they're not, you know, they saw the hardships they went through at that age, and they don't necessarily want their children to go through those hardships at the same age.
Oh yeah, well, they can stay on their parents' insurance, health insurance, so they're 25 years old.
Exactly.
Okay, by the time my parents are 25 years old, they had like 3 kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's just so many reasons as to why that the stats are coming out to the way that they are. But it's very interesting, and for a change, it's nice to see something positive about my generation, which is the millennials. It's good to see that some of the decisions that many millennials are making are actually turning out for the better and are actually kind of showing a positive trend, unlike when compared to other generations, as opposed to some of the other trends that we've seen with them.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. We're going to have to wait another 15 or 20 years and see what the divorce rate comes up as with the millennials. I think that unfortunately, I think it's likely it's going to be very similar. I think that a lot of people out there, that the same rate of people will only remain married around the same amount of time. They just waited later here. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe the fact that they waited later and they're a little bit more mature, they've already got their career, they've already got their education, means that they are finding a relationship with somebody that can move into marriage, and that marriage will, in fact, last a lifetime.
Well, and maybe I'm a little partial, but I do think I think the numbers are going to bear out. Now, I don't think they're going to continue as high as maybe they're trending here, but I think there's going to be a happy medium somewhere in between where the baby boomers sit right now and where the millennials sit right now.
Yeah, sure.
I think there'll be a happy medium that will fall in the middle of all that. And I think overall it'll be a much more positive thing going forward. Now, going forward, does that mean that the following generation is going to wait even later to get married? I don't know.
Yeah.
If they're seeing positive role models from the millennials and how they're doing marriage, then they may be encouraged to start marrying earlier.
It might be earlier. I think that we're going to see in the next generation a downturn in people that feel like they have to go to college. Okay, I think that young people are going to start considering other careers, trades, because they're seeing that generation in front of them all have that student debt, all in career, not all of them, but a lot of them in careers that they didn't even get a college degree to be in, and they're going to consider non-college careers a lot more than this generation.
Well, it makes me wonder if colleges are going to regret raising those tuition rates to astronomical rates when that
happens.
happens.
Right. And don't forget online and virtual education.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break here. We'll be back tomorrow with another brand new edition of Offsides. Until then, have a great one.